Go, 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 go.
Knudsen,
What's going on, Tursky?
this is Two Guys Talking Golf.
That's right, baby.
This is the
We're back.
This is the iPad edition, so I'm just going to apologize up front if the audio is bad. Unfortunately, I have the oldest laptop of all time. The platform no longer works on it, so we're going to iPad. Hopefully, it's like a one episode fix, and we'll figure out a mic situation next time. So apologies in advance for the YouTube watchers. The visuals will probably look a lot clearer because the
so dark.
The camera on the iPad's a lot better, but the audio is probably going to suffer this week. I promise we have great content. It was popping off at the CJ Cup, South Carolina at Congaree. Okay, so that's out of the way. Let's get into it. I know you had something you wanted to say real quick, Mug.
Well, hey, you know what? Before we get into this one today, which is going to be full of heat, there's tons of awesome stuff. Want to let you know, though, episode brought to you by Fujikura Golf Shafts. And listen, Fujikura, the Ventus, they've been huge. Past year, they have been the number one brand, have the number one model for driver and wood shafts. And last year on tour, 48% of the tournaments were won by a player with a Fujikura driver shaft, which is insane. And so far in the 2022-2023 season, 37% of all driver shafts used on the PGA Tour have been a Ventus, which is nuts. So right now they got 6 Ventus models. They got the OGs, the Ventus Black, Ventus Blue, Ventus Red, and now they've got the Ventus TR Black, TR Blue, TR Red. So brand new profiles, tons of stuff going on. Go check out FujikuraGolf.com. There's so much info, and really the Ventus, I mean, is Golf WRX forums members choice last year. They went like 1, 2, 3. It was crazy. So if you haven't checked out Ventus yet for yourself, definitely go to Fujikura.com and check them out.
Fuji picked a great week to sponsor the podcast.
Yeah.
This was going to be a topic like 7 topics down, but might as well start it off right now. Hideki Matsuyama. So we know him as the DI orange shaft guy. You know, he's been playing that his whole career. He does shaft testing each week. Most of the time, it's just different DI shafts, like same weight, same flex, just like, you know, he likes popping them in, popping them out, and trying different ones. This week was a little different. So obviously he recently changed heads to the ZX5 MK2 LS version.
Yep.
He changed to that in Napa. And this week, you know, as always, he has a million shafts laying up against his bag, a bunch of different heads. There's some photos in the forums of that. I always get a kick out of it, so every time I see it, I take a picture anyway. But this week he was legitimately doing testing. Like, I was getting word that he was testing the 1K, the Tensei 1K, which Cameron Young plays, and they have pretty similar moves, like with the pause at the top and just their transition. So I can't put words in his mouth exactly why he wanted to test, but I'm sure that had something to do with it. You know, they have similar transitions. Cam Young's been loving that shaft. So I thought he was going to switch into that. And the word around the street was that he was going to switch into the 1K, but he was also testing a bunch of different shafts. Like, he was testing Ventus shafts. I forget what else was leaning up against it. The picture's on the forums, and you can see what shafts he's testing. Ultimately did switch into a Ventus. You have the specs on that, I think, right?
Yeah, so he went. So he's playing that ZX in a 9.5, and then a Ventus Black 8 TX.
That's insane.
Is what's in there.
How stiff is that?
Which is.
Can you give like an idea? Have you tested anything in that realm? Because that sounds absolutely absurd. I mean, Ventus Black is already a very stiff product.
Yeah, I've never messed with one that heavy. I've seen 7Xs, and when you go into TX, that's even bumped up a little bit more. But the Ventus Black, I play a 6X, and I can kind of like that's about as much as I can do. And and when I was playing it last year, I was like the 106-ish range. So yeah, Ventus Black 8TX is crazy stout. But yeah, that's what he ended up going with here. And like you said, the pictures are awesome. I mean, it's got 5 DIs, 5 graphite design DIs laying against the bag.
I told you, I'm not lying.
There's a Mitsubishi, the 1K white, Pro White, and then there's also a like Kylie blue. I mean, it's like my whole rack behind me is just laying up against this shaft. But yeah, that Ventus, when you get the Ventus like 6X, the 5s and 6s are actually pretty playable. When you get into the 7s and 8s, they're pretty stout, and then you throw the TX side on it, and that's a pretty stout boy, man. Like, I mean, you better be bringing some serious heat to get that thing off the ground. So it's stiff.
Do you know about the Ben profiles and stuff? Because I know he was kind of looking for something really stiff towards the tip and the mid, and then something like a little softer in the handle. Because I know he likes having that feel, and he wants to feel it kind of set. But then when he goes, he snaps. So it's like you don't want a lot of torque in the head. Is that kind of what the black is built for? Like a little soft in the handle, stiff in the tip?
No, that's the funny thing. So you're right. I mean, the DI is basically really soft handle section, a stiffer mid section, and then like a really stiff tip, I think, is the way it kind of profiles out. And really in the Ventus line, I think, people always ask, like, what's the closest to that? And really the blue profile, the original blue, is probably the closest profile to it. It's got a little softer handle. The black has like black and red both have like ultra stiff handle sections. And then the black just goes ultra stiff middle, ultra stiff tip. So it's just an overall really stiff profile, which is interesting because it is different, definitely different than the DI he's been playing for, I mean, how many years? He's been playing the thing forever.
I hear you. It's hard to talk about stiffness of shafts and stuff without cracking a little smile. We do a lot on this show where things could be taken out of context. Just makes me laugh. Okay, immaturity aside. Okay, that was an equipment topic right off the top. I did just want to talk a little bit about Congaree and Ridgeland, South Carolina in general. Congaree is one of those courses where it's like, it's hard to even get out there because it's super private. I mean, there's 2 members. They do a lot for good causes in terms of helping the community, and I know they have like partnership with Ping and all that, but it's one of those like storied type courses. It gets a lot of comparisons to Ohoopee.
I've heard of it.
I don't remember exactly how to pronounce it, but it's one of those courses just like you can't get on. I mean, it's Pine Valley-esque, Cypress-esque. So it was cool just being able to get out there and kind of walk the grounds. Absolutely unbelievable track. I saw the scores today, 5 under, 6 under leading. I don't see it out there personally. Just walking around, I mean, it's deep. Like,
yeah.
I mean, they throw some short par 4s in there, but there's a lot 500 plus. There's like 650 par 5s, and it's dry. It's dried out. A lot of the tee shots, it's like your shot shape is kind of determined for you, just the way trees are overhanging and the way holes dogleg. And it just seems like a really difficult course. There's no rough, but there's those waste areas everywhere, and it just has it just has like a really cool look. I did do kind of a hole by hole. I did 1 to 11 and then 18. The layout of the course is a little weird. Like 10 is way away from the clubhouse, and it's just like the routing of it. I just wasn't going to walk all 18. Listen, there's a lot to do out there, and I just really wanted to see the course, and I felt like I got a great feel for it. Definitely a track I want to play. I'm happy that I'm not playing in front of an audience and my score counts out there. I'd love to play a really cool track. Definitely check out the photos in the forums. Super cool course. All the players, you can listen to the way guys talk about a course. It's like you can read between the lines. When they're bitching and moaning, it's probably because they don't like the course. But all these guys are like, I love what I see so far. for most of them, I know they played the Palmetto Championship there 2021, but not the same field at all. You got 15 of the top 20 there this week. Star-studded field, super packed, but a lot of these guys haven't seen the course ever. So, you're getting their first reactions in the press conferences and just hearing guys talk. They're all very complimentary of the course, super excited about it. And just to kind of give a feel for where it is, Ridgeland, South Carolina, definitely like a middle of nowhere type place. Everyone is super, super nice. It's just in the middle of nowhere. So I didn't have a rental car this week. There was like 3-hour, 4-hour line for the rental car. And I was like, all right, I'll just take Ubers and Lyfts around. That's not a sponsor.
Yeah.
Just saying. Ride sharing app. I was going through ride sharing apps. So I took the ride sharing app from Savannah up to Ridgeland, and I didn't realize that there were no Ubers and Lyfts available out there. And when I say not available, it's not like, oh, well, I have to wait 26 minutes, kind of an inconvenience. Like, just loading. Please wait. We can't find you a ride.
Wow.
I know that's super first world problems, but it's like I was literally stuck at the hotel the first morning because I just didn't know. So no Uber, no Lyft. Like the cab service wanted to charge me like $160 for a one-way trip, and I was just like, okay, so what do I do? It was a 4-hour walk, and I was like, am I about to walk 4 hours? Like, what do I do? And I just talked to the lady at the front desk. I believe her name was May. So shout out to May.
May.
She had a police officer hookup. Like she just knew one of the local cops. It definitely seems like one of those towns where it's like people definitely know each other. It's like one grocery store in the town type place. And so she hit up her connect, and I took a cop car over to the course the first day. I was riding in the back of the cop car when the police officer shows up. Obviously, a unique circumstance because like she's not. It was a woman cop. She's not like a taxi cab service. She's trying to fight crime, and she's giving just like some golf equipment reporter a ride to the course. But I did really appreciate it from all of them. Like that's what I'm saying though. Super nice people, and just willing to give like the shirt off their back. But when I was getting into the cop car, I told her I was like, I've been spending my whole life trying to stay out of the back of one of these things, and now I'm getting in voluntarily. I think that lightened the mood a little bit.
I know you sent me a picture. You texted me the picture like the other day, and it was like, "Yo, I'm heading to the course in the back of this cop car," and it was this woman, driving you there, and I was like, "That is unbelievable that you get the police escort right to the course."
I was like, "What is my life,
dude?"
But just getting around after that because obviously I didn't get a rental car, but the ladies who were running the shuttle service, like the nicest people ever. So I just wanted to make sure I gave a shout out to Nancy, Marianne, Karen, and also Joe, hooking me up on some rides, just getting to the course, getting back to the hotel, getting to the airport. It was a unique trip. It was a very unique trip.
To say the least.
Had I known what I was getting myself into, I probably would have waited out the rental car line, but it is what it is. I met some great people, and next time I'm in Ridgeland, I think I got a good connect with the police task force, so I should be good in Ridgeland. But anyway, it was a poppin' week for equipment.
Yeah,
straight up, just a lot.
Another one.
If you give guys some time off, and what they call it, like silly season. Is this silly season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of. Yeah.
And you can kind of tell, just with how players are talking, like in all their press conferences. I mean, Jordan Spieth's talking about, taking time off in the fall, doing weddings. He's got a bunch of weddings. His wedding season. Rory is like kind of not calling the PGA Tour out, but he's big on like fixing the system, like finding solutions from a really logical state of mind. So when Rory talks, everyone listens because we know for a fact now his heart's in a good place and he just wants like the game of golf to be in a good spot. So really appreciate where he's coming from on that. But even he was talking about going forward, the fall is really football season. It's like college football, NFL is popping off. I'm sure events like the CJ Cup do lose viewership compared to in-season golf. It's like people kind of need a break. And like he was saying, you need to give fans and the players themselves time to miss it. But either way, I think that just like kind of comes together all at once where it's, contracts are coming up. It's kind of like off season. So if guys want to test product, maybe they normally wouldn't. They have that liberty and to kind of like put stuff in play. Maybe they won the week of the Masters, but this kind of gives them that opportunity to test it out like in game mode. So you got a lot of guys testing product and just the off season in general. Like, especially if you didn't play in the President's Cup, you have all this time to, okay, what prototype do I need? What changes do I need to make? What needs to be addressed in my bag? So a lot of that's coming together. And for us, just a lot of content. It's good.
I mean,
it's a great time of the year for us. New products popping up, guys switching into products they have never played before, and we got all that this week. We got prototypes from companies. So I tightened it up to like 11 different topics. We already talked about it, Becky, so we got 10 more. Already spent a little while on the intro, so we're just going to run through. We'll do all the equipment topics. We'll pick what's in the bag of the week. No more talking. I guess let's get to it.
Well, a lot more talking, but
well, yeah,
a lot more talking.
Yeah, a lot more talking. Okay, so let's start with what I would consider arguably the biggest equipment story of this week. To me, the most surprising, at least, is Scotty Scheffler.
Oh, yeah.
Scotty Scheffler, obviously TaylorMade guy now, has had stealth drivers, stealth fairway wood in the bag for the whole year. Don't think that's changing anytime soon until new TaylorMade woods come out. I think he's pretty happy there. He's had those irons in the bag forever, the P7 TWs. He's a Vokey wedge guy. And I thought he was just going to be a Scotty GSS blade user for his whole life. That's kind of just who he's been. He's never been a mallet guy. And I was just it was during my course walk. I just went out onto the course just to take some photos of the course, kind of take it in. And he was on the first green. So I just stopped. Like, he was playing with Webb Simpson, I think Cam Young. And it's like, check out the 680s in Webb's bag, look at the P7 TWs. Then I thought I was just going to be on my way. So I was like, Webb doesn't really change much. Scotty ain't changing nothing. And then I take a look up at the green, and Scotty's got a mallet in his hands.
Yeah.
And I was like, is he testing one of the other putters in the group? Like, what is he doing? Is he just like trying something out and then he'll go back to the blade? Not the case, much to my surprise. Because I look at his bag, he's only got one mallet head cover in there, like no blade head cover. And I was like, oh my God, I think Scotty Scheffler's switching to a Scotty Garrett mallet. Like, what is this? And then I talked to Ted Scott, his caddy. I was like, is it cool if I, take some photos of the new putter? And he was like, ask the boss man. And I was like, Scotty, it's like new putter? Like, what's the deal? He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I take photos. He's like, yeah. So I start taking a look at the putter. It's a T5.5 proto, becoming extremely popular out there. What is it? It's Max Homa. It's JT. It's like a custom version of it. A lot of guys are kind of. It's like once you see other guys switching into something and finding success with it, it's like, all right, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
You just kind of like it. You already want to like it. So, guys end up switching to it, but pretty customized version for him. He's got the SS on the toe. He's got grinder on the heel. I know he's getting torched in the comments because Grindr is a dating app of sorts, but you know, I'm sure that's not why he has it printed on his putter. It's just because he is a grinder. Like, you know, he grinds out pars. You know, in that context, not the dating app context, but that's pretty funny. But he's got the 3 lines as his alignment line. So he's got 2 outer white lines kind of running across that back flange, and then he's got 1 single black top line, 1 single line as the alignment line on the top line. And I was just talking to the Scotty Cameron rep, and he was saying that, you know, they had sent Scotty the T5W Futura like 2-3 years ago, and he just kind of had it in his little area wherever he practices in his house. And he's like low key. I mean, he had a great year last year until the Masters. You know, he didn't do much like putter-wise. He didn't putt very well the back half of the year. He putted terrible at the President's Cup, I believe. Not that I watched every single second of the President's Cup, don't get me wrong, but I think he was displeased with his performance on the green specifically at the President's Cup. He was looking to switch it up. And what he was saying about the mallet is it wasn't necessarily a forgiveness thing. I know people assume it's, you know, blades are less forgiving, mallet's more forgiving. And yeah, that's definitely true. But his was more about like seeing the line, framing the ball, and make sure he hits his starting line. And I think when he was practicing with that mallet at home, he realized he was starting it more consistently online, which obviously just breeds confidence. And it's literally physically better for your putting to start it online. But it's also like once you start hitting that line over and over, now you have the confidence. It helps your reads out to be able to be more consistent with distance control. Like everything, the world kind of opens up once you feel comfortable with the line. And I'm gathering that's where he's at right now. I don't know how he putted or scored today. We record this podcast on a Thursday, so we get the first round knowledge. Do you have access real quick to look it up? I'm curious if he played or putted well, but he seemed very, very comfortable. I was just looking at him stroke putts, hitting practice putts. He seemed comfortable. But just like an interesting switch up from Scotty, you know, it's like you win four times one year, reach world number 1, win your first green jacket, all with the same putter the same year, and then you switch it up. So like on paper, it looks like a very surprising, sudden, like drastic switch. But when you kind of hear what's going on, it makes more sense. Now, I don't know if his stroke, I'm not a putter fitter, so I'm not positive if the putter perfectly matches up with his stroke and feels. But I do believe it has a flow neck, so it's probably got some toe hang on there, which might match his stroke a little bit better. He seems to be more of an inside-out type guy. But yeah, pretty cool little prototype, very surprising switch from a world number 1, just random. You know, no one was expecting it, and he did just order. I guess he just ordered the putter last week. I was talking to the Scotty Cameron rep. I think Scotty went in and did the work himself on the putter, which is always pretty cool. Like I was always curious about that. You know, does Scotty actually go in there with his own hands and do some of that work? And I'm gathering that he does for specific circumstances. But yeah, pretty cool story. Like, what's your take? Yeah. What are the people saying? What do you got?
Yeah, and he's like I think tied 38 right now or something. It's even par. So you know, not a horrible day. Just had a bunch of pars in there. Yeah, so he's tied 44. Sorry, tied 30, tied 44. You know, statistic wise though, they say strokes gained putting. He was minus 1.47. So
that's not great.
You know, that's not great, but you know, he you know was hitting the ball pretty well driver wise. But no, I like the putter a lot. I think those Phantom, you know, protos that we see, like you said, that so many guys are playing on tour. I think they look really good. I think, you know, in terms of retail, they sell really well. A lot of people are really into them. The shape is really good. I kind of like the two white lines on the flange, and I think exactly what like Scotty said. It just frames the ball better, and I agree with that. I think when you look at the retail one, it only has the single line on top. So adding those two white little lines on the flange really does kind of give it just something that pops with it, and I think does kind of help draw your eyes to framing that ball. But like you said, the grinder on the heel has a little like smiley devil face on it, which is pretty sweet. It almost looks like it's like a true stamp too, which is pretty cool. But yeah, overall, I mean, I love that he's playing, basically the Scotty Cameron cord grip. It's just a super classic design, and I think you're probably right in terms of toe hang. It probably is something that's similar to what his blade was. So the face rotation is probably about the same. You've just got something that's maybe, like you said, framing the ball better, helping him start it on line. He's probably not that worried about the forgiveness of it, but yeah, overall, just it's one of those putters. The more I see him, again, like I've told you before, I've told everybody, I don't go chasing circle tees or anything. They don't do a ton for me. Like the more I see these, proto T 5.5, 7.5s, all the ones we've seen, I do kind of like them. The different face milling and all that. Like I'm becoming a fan. So, but I think it's a solid looking putter. I like it.
Yeah, in terms of some of the specs and aftermarket custom adjustments, he did go deeper on the face milling, which always kind of lowers the acoustics, like gives you a little bit softer feel, which the Scotty Cameron rep, Brad, he was saying it just kind of matched up better with his former GSS blade. Obviously, that's probably a pretty soft feeling putter. I have not had the pleasure of trying out Scotty Scheffler's custom, probably 20 grand putter, but I can imagine it would feel very soft. So the deep milling marks make a lot of sense. And then the top lines. So honestly, I never putted with a Futura T5W. I don't recall ever having it in my hands, but just based on my conversations, I think that was the alignment lines on that putter, or at least it was like a retail option with the two white lines in the back and then a line on the top line.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, I just looked it up. That's how the alignment aid.
So that was the putter he had at home. He liked that. I think that was a big part of like how the ball was being framed and his improvement on the starting line. So he obviously wanted to carry those alignment lines over to the new one. He just wanted an updated version because what I gather from my conversations is that, he wanted that softer feel. So he needed the milling to be a little bit deeper. And I'm sure the retail on the T5W was not as deep as he wanted. So, a little combo of those two putters, kind of a modernized T5W for Scotty. So pretty cool switch. That was like one of the first things I saw when I got to the course.
So
because I wanted to walk the course because I was
day.
really excited to see it. Like it's Congaree, I never been there. And then right off the bat, it was like Scotty switching to a mallet. I was like, oh man, it's going to be one of those content type weeks, huh? Like, let's go.
Yep, gonna be a good day.
Okay, so we can move on to the next topic. What do we want to do here? I want to save one of the what's in the bags for the what's in the bag of the week, but we'll do another one. We'll do Tommy Fleetwood. I'm always intrigued by Tommy Fleetwood's setup, particularly the putter, because he's so funny. He just tests all these prototypes week to week to week to week. He had always ended up going back to the Odyssey, but this week the Odyssey wasn't even around. He was kind of going back and forth between this prototype Juno, TaylorMade Juno. He's just got like a dot as the top line. I think the weighting was a little bit different, and I know he's very sensitive, not sensitive, but he's attuned to the loft and how loft looks at a dress.
Oh.
He doesn't want to see loft. Like he wants to have a plumber's neck, but he doesn't want to see loft. So it's like kind of a fickle type situation. And he was saying that he got the loft down to 1 degree on the TaylorMade putter, and he really likes it. But for some reason, he just sees a little too much face. And then he also had this Scotty Cameron button back, masterful prototype, which I think he had some heavy weights down there. I think they were like 30 grams on the toe and the heel. But I think that's also bent down to like 1.5 degrees. But he was saying because he has the twirling insert on that face, he was saying for whatever reason, the insert on that kind of hides the loft. Like he can't see as much of the face.
Oh.
And it's like, I think he wanted to play the TaylorMade. I think he likes the insert on the face, but the way that Scotty sets up to his eye, the way that insert looks. So I talked to him on Wednesday. I did a full what's in the bag and, got some photos of the putter and stuff. So I wanted to just ask him where his head was at with the putter, what he thinks he was going to do. He was about to go play his Pro-Am on Wednesday. He was like, honestly, I don't know yet. He was like, I like both of them. Like, don't get me wrong. I really like both of them. I can't play both of them. And he was just going into how he's, I don't want to say sensitive. I know that word can come across wrong, but he is just sensitive to the way the loft looks at a dress. So he was kind of fighting with that and just trying to figure it out. But he always entertains me with the putter. He's so funny.
The interesting thing too is like, he's got the Juno, and the Juno's got like, they're totally different putters, but the Juno is more of like a Newport 2 look. It's got the really squared off bumpers. Yeah. It's a little like, I don't want to call it harsher look, but it's more edgy, more angled look, a little more squared off look. And then the Masterful is like the real soft massage bumpers, really a little more rounded around the edges. So they're totally different looks. But I do have to say that interesting. He's got in both of them, Fujikura MC putter shafts. He's got, and they've got etching on them, and they're both different, so they're both the extra firm, which is a stupid stiff shaft. I have one of the extra firms over here, the standard one, and it is, I think, one of the stiffest putter shafts I've ever put in a putter. But he's got one that has like the Masterful is an XF 140, which a lot of the comments in the forum and stuff like that were, is it a little heavier? Because I think the standard models are 115. Is this 140 grams?
140 is a lot.
Yeah, that's really heavy. That really is. And then the one in the TaylorMade and the Juno is a XX-F, which might, to me, it kind of almost says it's double extra stiff, and the F for Fleetwood is my guess, but I have no idea. But really interesting setup, and also interesting that 30-gram weights in the Masterful, and then in the Juno 10-degree weights. Is the head weight on the stock putters just that different, where he only needs 10-gram weights in the Juno? But interesting, both putters. Like I said, if I had to choose one, I'm going Masterful. I like the slightly a little more rounded look, and that's really an insert. How do you go wrong with that? If I was in his shoes, what do you pick?
Insert. If you put some white
exactly,
so that thing, I'm playing it.
but no, man, I'm a big fan. I actually play the MC putter 115. I play the firm, not the extra firm. I just like it has a little bit more feel to me. Yeah, I've got all three. They make a smooth, a firm, and an extra firm for retail. Mm-hmm. The extra firm is crazy stiff. I've got it in a putter, and it doesn't move. You try to bend it with your hands, it just doesn't move. The firm is like a little stiffer than steel, so it's got a little bend to it if you work it, but it just softens the feel, the putter up just a touch. Takes just a little bit of vibration out away from the hands, and then they make a smooth that is like kind of a noodle, and it's meant for like kind of long, slow strokes. Okay. But yeah, they're great putter shafts. Like I said, I really like the feel of them. I've been playing the firm for 2 years now. I started playing it last year. But I really like the feel of it.
Have you tried LA Golf shafts or like other multi-material
I haven't.
shafts? You haven't? You have not.
Well, I haven't tried LA. So I've tried the Stability. I've tried the Acura, a version of the Acura one, and I've tried the Fuji, but I have not tried the LA. That's the only one I haven't tried yet.
Okay. Well, that was going to be my question. Like, how does the Fuji compare to the LA? Because I have tried the LA. I probably have more experience with that shaft, and it's really stout, like, because it's wider, so that kind of changes just the way it feels. Like, it just makes it feel stout. And it's also designed as extremely stiff, and it's 135. I think all of them are pretty much
A little heavier.
135, at least that I see out on tour. I think 125 is steel, standard, like depending on the cut.
Yep.
So it's definitely, 10 grams is pretty significant. So it feels heavy, and it feels like a board, and it just feels like it's not going to move. And I was just curious, how you compare it to the Fuji, but never mind. I thought as the shaft guy you would have tested literally everything, but I missed that.
I try to, but yes, I have not. I've not got my hands on the LA Golf yet, unfortunately. So, a little bit of a bummer. I know a lot of people ask me kind of comparisons between LA and say stability from BGT or the Acura stuff, whatever. And unfortunately, it's the one that's eluded me so far in my club junkie days.
Stability is the Barney Adams shaft, right? Or at least he had
that's the one that's got the
start of it. I don't know if he's still around. I don't know where they're at right now, but that was the Barney Adams shaft, right?
Yeah, that's the one that has the composite top, the composite handle section, and then the steel tip section that goes into the putter. That you would either have a straight steel tip, or you would cut down if you have like a double bend putter. You could cut it and epoxy it in. I've had those. I really like them. I think those are really good. They're really stout. The only difference for me is the Fuji gives me a little more feel, a little softer feel than the Stability. But the Stability is really good too. I've tried the Tour, the Polar, and the OG one, the big fat one, when they first came out. So, but there's more and more of these things coming out now. I mean, there's a handful of these things out, and I think more people are starting to realize that these stiffer shafts, these more stable shafts, all that they do kind of offer a little different feel. I mean, are they making more putts necessarily? I don't know. But I think there's a lot of tech going into the short game, which is pretty cool.
Even if it's placebo effect on the greens, I think anything you do that gives you confidence or settles down your peace of mind, only beneficial.
Yeah, I agree.
What was the first kind of composite putter shaft? Like, who would you attribute? What company would you give the credit for starting this? Because it wasn't too long ago, and now it feels like it's taken over, especially with the young guys. They're all kind of embracing it, and I kind of stumbled into a transition. Eventually we'll get to Tom Kim, because I did talk to him about this actual subject matter, but I'm just curious who you give that credit to, and your stance on that.
I mean, I don't know, because there's been graphite shafts for so long, and there was a lot of kind of no-name graphite shafts that were in some putters that were just white or black or whatever. But I mean, for me, I remember kind of right when I jumped, probably right around when I started hanging on WRX, which WRX was founded in 2005, probably a little before that. Fujikura made some for Scotty Cameron. They made a couple putter shafts that were for some special editions for some Circle T putters. And then I remember there was a Mitsubishi, there was a Diamana putter shaft that was out for a little while as well. And I remember those two were huge, huge things. I mean, they were super expensive. There weren't a ton of them around, but people loved them. I don't know if they necessarily, they were, I think, modeled more after steel in terms of the flex. They weren't as stiff as the stuff is now and all that. But those guys, I mean, really did. I think back in the day, people went nuts over those shafts. So in terms of big names, to me, I'm not a huge historian, but those two I remember back in early 2000s were big time shafts that people tried to get their hands on.
In my mind, I give the credit to Kevin Na.
Yeah, he's been playing.
In terms of tour, I know what you're saying on the market. But just tour-wise, I think he kind of had the biggest impact, because I think he won with it maybe 2018, 2019. I think it was when it was still a Matrix Ozic putter shaft.
Yeah, it might have been.
I don't want to be off base, so if I misspeak, let me know. But in my brain, I kind of attribute it to Kevin Na, and then people kind of started picking up on it. And it just kind of took off on tour, and it feels like within the last year is really when it started taking off. I think Bryson with the LA Golf kind of
Yeah,
connection.
that was huge.
Also, people started seeing the benefits of going composite versus steel. And that kind of brings me to my point, I guess. Stumbled right into the transition. I love when that happens. So Tom Kim,
Yep.
he's in that group of young guys who he even says, I mean, I talked to him for maybe 5 minutes on this topic. He's one of those guys that like got recommended to try the putter out. I don't know if putting was ever like the strength of his game. He always said that when it was with a steel shaft, the putter always felt a little bit different in his hands, like the weight and just the way it flexed, like his tempo. He felt like he was a little bit inconsistent, and he was playing that steel shaft, obviously successfully. I mean, unbelievable young player, playing all over the world, winning Asian Tour and Korean Tour events. Just an absolute stud, but I don't think he felt like he was at that level yet on the greens. And when he played in the CJ Cup last year, he had the steel shaft in there. I know we were talking back and forth trying to figure out exactly what the shaft was, because it was a black version, but I think it was a steel shaft. And he said, mostly before he switched to an LA Golf shaft, he was playing steel. And I guess one of his buddies, I thought maybe he was talking about Kevin Na, because he didn't say exactly who it was, but he was like, one of my buddies who won with it on tour. I was like, okay, it's got to be Kevin Na. But he was saying he got recommended it, and it changed everything for him, like, immediately. He was like, everything day to day, stroke to stroke, week to week, felt consistent. And he was like, once you start feeling consistent and you're still getting feedback, like, if he misses the center of the face, he knows it's not going to roll well. But if he hits the center of the face, has a consistent strike, which, most of these guys out there, really, they do. They're repeatable strokes. But, when it's not feeling different and he can feel consistent and he's hitting the center of the face, he knows exactly where it's going. It's hitting the distance that he wants on the line that he wants. And just doing some research, like, he already has 2 wins. He's 20 years old. This kid's amazing. So I was looking at some stats. So he finished first in strokes gained putting in his first win at Wyndham, finished third in strokes gained putting in his win at Shriners. It's like, those are dominant putting performances, out putting the field. And I know with strokes gained, it's like, okay, well, how many greens did you miss and where were you chipping it to? But in general, it's a pretty good stat. It gives you a feel, okay, am I putting well? Am I putting really well? Am I putting awful? It can give you a feel, in a certain threshold, but to lead a tournament, to win a tournament and be first strokes gained putting, you're obviously putting lights out. So he's got to feel pretty confident with his putting. And what was I saying? I had another point about Tom Kim.
I don't know. I mean, it was the transition into the putter shafts.
Oh, but I wanted to bring up. So there's only 2 players that have 2 wins before the time they turn 21. 2 PGA wins. It's Tom Kim and it's Tiger Woods. But I was sitting in on the press conference. Rory was up there, and Tom Kim was up next. With press conferences, they like schedule you out, so it'll be Rory at 10 a.m., Tom Kim at 10:30. So he's already in the interview room, waiting to go up on the podium and basically get grilled by reporters next. But he sits down in the audience, grabs a mic, and asks Rory a question. And the back and forth between them was just awesome, because Tom Kim, he legitimately asking him, like, you had so much young success, basically. I'm having a lot of young success. Like, what are the pitfalls? What's your advice? And Rory, being Rory, just like super well spoken and on the spot, just coming up with great answers. Like, he always has a great answer for whatever question's asked. But, after he was like kind of laughing at the situation, he took the question seriously. And he looks at him and he's like, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sponsors on you. Like, he's looking at his hat, his shirt, all this. And he's like, you're basically a budding superstar, but you really got to be careful with your time, because you're going to get pulled in this direction, and it's going to distract you from what actually got you there. Like he was saying, you have 2 wins already before you're 21. Like that's a better start than I had in my career. And Rory is considered a phenom. One of the best young, successful golfers, ever. You look at the history books, he's right up there. And Tom Kim's surpassing Rory. And we look at Rory like
it's wild.
He's one of the ones. And Tom Kim's like on his way there. He's like charismatic, funny, engaging. He knows equipment. He loves equipment. So we love him too. And it's like, what does that turn into? So now you're a fan favorite. Now you got press conferences every week. You got people like me coming up to you every week. Fans, they want selfies and photos and autographs. And your sponsors are like, hey, we need you for this commercial. We need time. And that's all taking away from practicing. And that kind of went to Rory's. I don't know if you saw all this. Some of it's like going a little viral out there.
Yeah, it is.
But someone asked him about what's more difficult, getting to world number 1 or staying at world number 1. And he was like, staying there, because you got a target on your back, and now you are world number 1. And it's like your time just gets eaten up, and your focus can turn to not practicing, not trying to improve. Because like, I'm there, and if you're too much of like a people pleaser type thing in that circumstance and not, looking out for yourself and doing what got you there, it can easily slip away from you. And my thought on it was just like Tiger Woods, his like mental strength. That he was world number 1 for what, like 12 years. He didn't miss a cut for 3.5 years. And it's like, he's Tiger. He can't walk anywhere in public. He can't do anything without people trying to get his time. And it just made me realize, like, he came across a certain way during that era. It could be like a better than type thing it comes across as, or, oh, he's a jerk, like he only cares about whatever. But imagine how many directions he's getting pulled, and in his head, he just wants to be the best ever. Like, he just wants to practice.
Yeah.
He didn't do all that practicing and gone through what he went through in his life and made all those sacrifices and stuff just to like take selfies with fans and stuff. Like, he doesn't even care about that. He doesn't like that.
No.
And it's just like amazing what he was able to do back then. And it's like, I don't think we give him enough credit for that, because you do. You look at guys like Rory, who is, kind of woke and understands what's going on. Even he suffers from these pitfalls. And it's like, I'm sure Tom Kim will have, his little bouts of droughts and, get distracted here and there and fight back to world number 1 eventually. But, that's just where my brain went, was like, man, Tiger really was amazing back then.
Oh, dude, I mean, insane. And like, I mean, I think Rory, kind of lived it. I mean, you think about when he was young, he was that, the curly hair, and he was playing Titleist. He was a Titleist guy. He had a couple other little sponsors. But for the most part, he was a Titleist guy, and that was it. And then he made the switch over to Nike and got paid huge money and was expected to be in all the commercials and all the stuff and all that. And he didn't play well for a little while. Like, when he made that switch, he didn't play well for a little while. And now he's, coming back, whatever. But I think he's lived that. Here's a huge sum of money. It's a huge, you think about it. You look back to when you were kind of in your, mid 20s and all that. And if somebody, walked up and handed you $250 million to go play golf, and you're not even playing, like, that's just to wear the clothes and play the clubs. You're not even teeing it up yet, and you already have $250 million in the bank. Like, there's a lot of distractions, a lot of things that can pull motivation away from going out and just grinding on the game or having that laser focus to be an absolute killer. And there's guys like Tiger and Jack and whatever, they only come around once in a while, because that mental game like that is only had by a handful of people. And you can have all the talent in the world in terms of swinging the club and hitting the ball, but if you can't mentally get focused and play that game and have that killer instinct and all that, you'll never be a guy like a Tiger. And I think that's right. Like I said, I think Rory lived it, and now he can basically pass that on and say, hey man, like, here's some of the mistakes you can make, and here's what can happen. You got to find a way to get through it.
It's like that. I was actually watching a YouTube video about this last night, but the Mamba mentality. Obviously, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. But it's all about like priorities. What do you want to do? What's your goal? Do you want to be the best in the world? Because it's going to take like strength and mental toughness to get through all of the different challenges and obstacles and roadblocks on the way there. But if you're committed to it, you can do it and you can be strong about it.
Yeah.
If you just want the money and the clout and the sponsors and the attention from the fans and you want to be a celebrity, it's like your actions are going to support that, and I'm not calling out live guys. I'm not calling out anyone. It's just like kind of the truth of the way sports can be and just, life in general, it's like
100%.
You got to have your goals and stay away from being distracted. But anyway, we got off on a little tangent there. I know time's already running out. I got 4% battery on the iPad, so I'll kind of go through quickly on some of these other topics. Kevin Kisner.
Yep.
I'm going to soft step this topic because I think things are happening. Like the ground's rumbling a little bit. He's obviously Callaway guy. We do know he loves the 2016 Big Bertha, the driver. He made a little driver switch into a Wilson this week. Also equipped with a vented shaft. He's also switching irons. I don't know what he ended up switching to. It looked like he was going to switch into the Apex TCB. A little prototype action. I don't know. People are talking about the offset. It did look looked a little bit different, but that could just be like a loft thing. And it's also the angle I take the photo at. I try the best that I possibly can at getting what I think they would look at from a dress, like if it was sitting flat on the ground and, where your eye line would be. I try my best, but sometimes it can make offset just look a little bit different. So I'm not positive on that, but I do know it has like a custom sole grind, a little bit sharper towards that leading edge. And just talking to some of the Callaway guys, he's looking for more spin. He's looking for more height. He's not the fastest guy out there. He doesn't hit the ball super high, but especially if you're playing a really dried out course, which Congaree is, it's definitely firm and dry and it's long. It's like you need height out there. And just in general to kind of maximize and optimize distance, dispersion, all that, height and spin can be helpful for a guy that doesn't have enough height and spin. So I think he's doing a lot to garner more spin. Maybe that's why he changed the Wilson head and kind of changed up the sole. I did spot he was testing some Wilson irons out. So Wilson driver, trying out Wilson irons. I won't say too much there because I just don't know what's going on. Like I can ask Pat Callaway, they're not going to tell me. You know what I mean?
No.
And Kisner's not going to tell me. So it's like I can only speculate that the ground is rumbling a little bit there, but that's speculation, and I don't want to start rumors. I can only just tell you what I saw. And he switched to a Wilson driver, and obviously he's changing up the iron. So who knows what's going to happen? I mean, it's contract season, so this stuff is going to start coming out. I mean, guys get signed by other companies when their contract's up. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Using common sense, you would say maybe he's considering, moving from Callaway to Wilson, but it could be any company, or he could just be going free agent, and it's like he's tested everything on the market. He just likes those products, or maybe he stays with Callaway. Maybe, I don't know. I don't even know if it's like a contract year for kids. It's just the timing of it and, what we see out there. It's just something to keep an eye on. That's all I'm saying. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, which, I really am. I like the back end, the business side of it, the deals that they strike and why they do what they do. I just find it fascinating and interesting as, we're gear guys. We like different pockets of the industry. It's just, that's one of the parts that interest me. And I would love to know and see what ends up happening, but we're just going to have to wait because as of now, he's got a Callaway staff bag and a bunch of Callaway clubs in there. He just changed to a Wilson driver. So
yeah, I mean he had some staff model CBs from what it looks like. It looks like he had the utility iron, a couple of those, and then he had a D9 head cover on the Wilsons, but we don't know. I mean, we didn't see underneath the head cover.
If
but
you check Getty Images and you just search Kevin Kisner, you can see the sole of it.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. But either way, I mean, he's got a handful of Wilson stuff, and from my experience, I've pretty limited experience with Wilson irons, but they do spin a good amount. I played the V6s, the forged V6 a couple years ago, and they definitely get up in the air. They have some spin to them, but those Apex TCBs were definitely interesting because they do look like they have more offset. Like you said, you don't 100% know because of whatever, whether they're the photo or whatnot, but they definitely look like they had a little more offset. And like you said, that sole grind at that leading edge kind of beveled, so it probably won't dig. You can probably get the leading edge a little lower into the turf, maybe hit a little higher up on the face of the club. But I like Kiss. It'll be interesting to see what he does. I mean, I could see him, if his contract's up, whatever. I mean, I could see him going the free agent route. I could see him, being somewhere else. I mean, he doesn't wear really does he wear a true Callaway hat? I don't know if he does.
I don't think so. I don't think he has Callaway on the front of his hat. I'm trying to remember what he does have.
I know. I can't remember either. But no, pretty interesting. I mean, the TCBs are pretty sweet. The ones that I've hit, like I said, I don't remember them having that much offset to them. They had a little bit. They were never like, super straight leading edge, but they had very little offset to them from what I remember.
I will just say, if you're following the train of thought of, like maybe he's leaving Callaway, which I'm not saying that he is because I don't know, but logic would bring you to the conclusion that Callaway probably didn't make him Apex TCBs with different offset for a guy that might be leaving in like 2 months, or maybe that was like their last effort to try to keep him. Anyway, I got to race against the clock right now because I'm on 2% with the iPad. So Bettinardi came out with some new experimental putters. It's got that
look really
like Odyssey number 7 or Scotty Cameron T5.5 type look, like with the fangs, but definitely more new age. I told the Bettinardi rep, I was like, it's kind of got that Star Wars look to it, fighter ship out there in space. But what was your takeaway? Did you see these putters? I don't know what people are saying, but I thought they looked pretty cool.
I think they look pretty cool. I mean, I'm going to assume that it'll be the next version of the Innove or Innovi, however they pronounce it. That line is always kind of the mallets, have a little more tech, multi-piece. They look like both of them have the roll control face on them, which is kind of angled cuts, horizontal lines in there that kind of get the ball rolling quicker. Personally, I like them. I've always liked that the shape. It's a little busier with the way they have kind of 2 holes milled in. Kind of in the center on the very outside is a little different looking, but overall, I think they look pretty good. And if I was a guessing man and I know nothing about what's coming out for Bettinardi, I would think that we may see something like this. Who knows? I mean, usually the Innove or Innovi line typically has kind of this look to it. So maybe we'll get a chance to put one of these in the bag at some point, maybe next year or further down the line.
Yeah, for now, just experimental prototype. What I gather is that there's only 3 that exist.
Oh, wow. Maybe I'm wrong.
Out there.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, see what the pros say, see what some of the Bettinardi guys say, and then, if people demand it, then we'll produce it. We've talked about that a lot on this show. I think that's a great way to go about like research and design for these companies, especially putter companies. I'm going to move on to the last topic before what's in the bag of the week. I'm going to try not to let this iPad die. Cam Young, absolute stud, hits it super far.
Yeah.
He made a couple switches this week. So he went to a TSR 2 plus, 14.5 degree 3-wood, which is interesting because the first time we spotted him, I thought it was only 13.5. Or am I wrong?
Yeah. No, I think the retail, I think there is only 13.5, but on tour, I think we have been seeing some some 14.5s that have jumped in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not think, at least at the moment, that you can get a 14.5 head if you walk into your local shop and try to order one.
I didn't see
It's
him
too early
hit
at the moment.
the club personally, but just judging on my experience with it, like I think I was hitting that thing maybe 285, 290. So he might hit it like 370.
That
thing's a weapon. It really is a lot like a mini driver, and it flies. So that's pretty cool to see him switching to that. He also changed to a TR2, I think it's 18 degree 5 wood, and then he just made like a super stroke grip change. He does that a lot. I think he's kind of constantly searching for that right feel on the putter grip. And those are all the topics I have before what's in the bag of the week. And this is a big what's in the bag of the week, because not only is the bag set up pretty cool, a cool name, but he's also got like all new unreleased Trixon product, and some of it's stuff that we've never seen. So I don't have his bag in front of me. As you know, I'm on the iPad this week, but if you have it in front of you, maybe go through a little bit. And then I did talk to Shane, who just gave like a little insight about each of the new clubs. He didn't say much. I mean, we talked very briefly, but he did go through some of the new designs. But hit us with that what's in the bag of the week, Nelson.
So we're going this week. Shane Lowry, the boy who actually I think just bought a brand new putter at PGA Superstore, from what I saw online. But he's got some definitely some new stuff in the bag. Messing with basically still rocking the old ZX5 driver, the previous one, with a Diamante D plus 70 in a 70 TX. So that's the old head, but then he's got the brand new ZX Mark II 3-wood, which a lot of people have been commenting on. It's got an adjustable hosel. The original ZX5 or ZX Fairway was bonded, was glued. This one does have an adjustable hosel, so it'll be interesting to see if that comes to retail or if that's a tour-only thing. But rocking one of those in a 3-wood, 15 degree, pretty much set at standard loft, with a hazardous smoke blue RDX 80 TX. Is a pretty big boy shaft right there. And then he, I don't know what he played today specifically, but he also has a Sim 2 titanium 3-wood in the bag with the same shaft. Then he's got a 5-wood, a 19 degree 5-wood, which is an old TaylorMade M5, Graphite Design DI8, which is kind of heavy. So, but that's a great old 5-wood that I think Tiger kept in the bag for a long time. It's just got that kind of cult status. And then he's got the brand new Trixon ZX utility iron in a, I believe it's 20 degree, the 3 iron. The brand new ZX utility, which I think you talked to him and he said he can hit it a little higher, lands a little softer, and may even go a little farther, I think is what you said. But when you talked to him,
he had a visible smile on his face when he was talking about the utility. Like, no joke. He was like, I can hit it high and soft if I want, but I could still hit that burner, that low bullet. And he was just really excited about it. He was like, it's definitely better than the last one.
Yeah, and it actually looks a little slimmer than the previous one. I had the 4 as the 4-iron version. This one looks a little slimmer from the address pick. And then he gets into brand new ZX5 Mark II. He's got kind of looks like a little combo set, but ZX5s, the Mark IIs, which look really good. I love the really kind of small silver badging in the back. It almost makes them look like they're one piece, kind of like ZX7 one piece forged. I know they're probably not. They're probably, got the thin face laser welded on, but the look of them from your photos look really, really good. The 5s look really darn good. Really minimal offset.
Were people chirping that club in the forums? I thought I saw some people talking about them and saying they didn't like the top line or that it was too squared off. I don't know. To me, they look really good at address. I didn't feel like the top line was too thick. I didn't think they looked too squared off. I'm not sure exactly what people mean when they say that, but I don't know. I don't know if we were looking at the same iron, me and the commenters, not to call anyone out. Love you guys, but
yeah, I didn't see anything yet. I mean, I didn't look that deep. I was pretty much just looking at the photos. I didn't look at the comments too deep yet. But I think looks really good. Still has the Tour V sole. and he's rocking KBS Tour 130Xs in the irons, but rocking the ZX5s, and then he jumps into for at least the 4 and 5 iron, and then he jumps down to the ZX7s when he hits the ZX7 Mark IIs when he hits 6 iron through there. And those, of course, we talked about previously. I mean, those are going to be killer. Yeah. They look really, really good. And then jumping to the wedges, he in the gap wedge, playing the brand new RTX6 Tour Rack, or the Zipcore RTX6 Tour Rack from Cleveland, which got some pretty aggressive milling, and he's playing basically a set of KBS Tour wedge shafts in there. So he's got that, and then a 58 in the RTX Zipcore full face. And then I think he plays a different sand wedge, which I don't know if you got photos of, but I remember you talking about with him that he's got, I think, either a standard RTX or something like that in the sand wedge, and then a 2-ball, basically the old what was it, White Hot Pro 2-ball putter that he was rocking, but I think he broke it on the 9th hole and went to PGA Superstore and bought some type of new putter. I don't know what it is yet. I couldn't tell from the Twitter post, but pretty cool. But yeah, pretty sweet bag. Like I said, I can't really wait to hit the new Strixon stuff. It looks really good. Irons for sure I want to hit, but even the woods are looking pretty solid. So I'm pretty excited to see to test out some new Strixon gear when it becomes available.
Did he snap the putter over his leg on 9? Like, how did this putter break?
I don't know.
It just like was an accident.
His tweet didn't say. His tweet, like, there's basically a Twitter post.
That means he probably
it just said
if he didn't say, like, oops, accident, you know, he probably
no, he said accidentally broke my putter.
Okay.
Accidentally broke it. So
that makes sense, though.
Yeah, no, accidentally broke it. And he actually might have bought 2. There's a picture. He's got 2 Odyssey putters in his hand. So he went to the store and bought a putter. So, which is pretty interesting. So it looks like it is another 2-ball. And it's, how cool is that? Like, you know, ringing him up and, you know, ring up Shane Lowry today for a putter.
He probably had to stop and take a bunch of pictures, but, you know, without the trucks there, the trucks always leave pretty much on
Wednesday,
2:00 on a Wednesday. So if anything happens after that, you're kind of stuck, or like hope you have a good handler close. But going to PGA Superstore, that's pretty cool. I always love those.
It's pretty sweet.
Where those guys show up at, like, you know, Second Swing or PGA Tour Superstore and just go shopping. I know Furyk used to do that a lot.
So awesome.
Yeah, I did talk to Shane pretty briefly about all the clubs. He was loving the utility. He had no intention of switching the 3-wood, the ZX MK2. He had no intention of switching into it, but that did not mean he didn't like it. So I guess he played a Strixon 5-wood like years ago, but I asked him, I was like, you've never really played a Strixon fairway wood, or I've never really seen you testing one. But you have this one in the bag. Like, are you testing it, considering it? Like, what's the deal? And he was like, it's a serious contender. Like, Strixon's not pushing me to try to play the fairway wood. Like, he had never really played one anyway, so they're not pushing him into the fairway wood. But they sent him one to try, and he actually really liked it. And he was like, it's not dialed in yet, because this is just the one that they sent me. Like, he didn't have time to get it dialed, shafted properly, you know, whatever he has to do internally, and bending, like, lie loft. Like, it's not dialed in that sense, but he loves the performance of it. And he was like, seriously, like, you know, not just saying this, it's a contender. So that'll be interesting if he throws in a new Strixon fairway wood for Shane. I think that would be a pretty big deal. And then with the irons, obviously, that was my first look at the ZX5s. So I was pretty interested to see that. He's a combo set guy. So, yeah, he went 4 and 5 with the ZX5s. I thought they looked pretty good. And what he was saying is essentially what I'm gathering from what he was saying. I'm just going to generalize what he was saying. You can go read the quotes over on golfwx.com, because I did print up exactly what he said. But he's basically saying they're the same, like maybe a little bit better. You know, they feel a little bit more solid, which, you know, my guess at the design is that they just widened that that back protrusion a little bit to kind of spread across the face a little bit more. So they probably do feel a little bit more solid when you just miss the center a touch. Other than that, they look very similar.
Yeah.
You almost wouldn't be able to tell the difference if it didn't have like different stamping on it. Just very minor changes. It's really one of those irons you don't want to mess up because they killed it.
Yeah.
The performance and feel, like they nailed the ZX5s last time. So with the MK2s, it's kind of like, don't change too much, just make them feel a little better. And based on what Shane was saying, that's exactly what happened. And then same thing with the ZX7s. We have already talked about those at length. And I think he's probably the first guy to switch into an RTX6. He just went with the gap wedge. And the reason he went into only the gap wedge, not the lob wedge, is because I believe he really likes the full face for his lob wedge.
Full face grooves.
Playing from a bunch of different lies, bunkers, playing flop shots, open face, closed face. I think he likes having those grooves stretching across the face for the lob wedge, but for the gap wedge where he's just hitting full shots, maybe not as necessary. But he said once he took it out of the box, loved the way it looked. Looks-wise, it's nothing too different, but you start looking at that face, something's definitely going on. We don't know all the tech yet, but he was saying on mishits, a lot better, and he loved the look, loved the feel, so it was just right in the bag. No questions asked on that one. And same thing with the irons. You're just like right out of the box, into the bag. I wish I could have had it on video. Like, his face just lit up talking about this utility. He must really like that thing. And it must be really good. I think historically, Strixon's had pretty good utility driving irons, so it doesn't really shock me. They look pretty good at address. What I look for is that the sole area, like from address, isn't too fat, where you see so much of it, like so much meat behind the face. When you put it down, like that's what I look for in my driving iron, and these look pretty good. Obviously, I have not hit them, and I only know one person in the world that's hit them, and it was Shane Lowry, and he was smiling about it. So, pretty cool insight there, and obviously seeing new product in the bag, you're going to get what's in the bag of the week for that one. When you got 8 unreleased clubs in the bag, you're going to get what's in the bag of the week. So congratulations to Shane Lowry. Also, one of the coolest putting grips in the game. He's got that custom super stroke. He's also got some pretty cool, just Irish inspired head covers and stuff like that. So he keeps it entertaining for people. With that, that's all I got. We ran a little bit longer this time than usual. But it was a packed week. I mean, what are you going to do? I should have expected it, being like the time of the year that it is and how much time guys had off, and going into January, guys trying to try out the new prototypes and stuff like that. I should have expected it, but I was still surprised by all the new stuff and guys switching. Scotty going to the mallet to start off the week. For me, I was like, yep, it's going to be one of those
good
weeks. So I was excited to do this podcast. You got anything else? Any closing words?
I think that's it, man. I've enjoyed the past two tournaments. There's been a ton of changes, a ton of gear. I'm excited for the rest of the year because I think we're only going to see more stuff start hitting these ranges and these players testing out some new stuff. So there's still a handful of manufacturers out there that we haven't seen officially anything from, and it'll be pretty cool when their stuff starts hitting bags as well. But this silly season, as we call it, is always a great time. I love it. So I'm glad you're out there getting the scoop, getting all the photos, and keeping us golf degenerates entertained.
Well, Knudsen, that was two guys talking golf.
Still go, 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 go.